How's it going, doggy people? I hope you all are doing well. Today we're going over a video that was recommended to me. Somebody asked if I could take a look at this video, and I'm going to give you my opinion on what I see. So the title of it is No Trainer Has Been Able to Handle This Rottweiler. So first off the bat, just a little disclaimer, nothing I say is going to be personal towards the owner or towards the trainer. I'm just pointing out things that I see from a dog's point of view. I see this Rottweiler has their tail, which I love, absolutely love it. I believe they're in the UK somewhere in Europe, and a lot of times over there they have outlawed docking of tail and cropping of ears. So kudos to that. I honestly love dogs that have their natural tail. But that's neither here nor there. That's not the point of this video. So let's go ahead and see what they're working on. First, we have this dog on a harness. Love it. I can't tell if that says in training or not, but if it does, kudos to the owner for putting that on. Looks like they have kind of a short leash. It looks like maybe a 4-foot leash. I think they could get away with a longer leash. That would probably help the dog feel more comfortable. A lot of times people will think it's counterintuitive if you give your dog, you're fearful, reactive, whatever it may be, you give your dog more leash, it's going to make it worse. Actually, it makes it a little bit better from what I've seen, from what I've worked with. You know, the more space and room you give them, the more comfortable they feel less trapped. You know, the more comfortable they are. They're able to walk around, sniff. They're not feeling this constant pressure. We're not trying to pull them back. So that's just what I see so far.
He's an insecure guy.
So you see this Rottie's tail is very high and kind of curled over his body versus where it was earlier. So he's, his legs are kind of far apart. So yeah, he's insecure. He has a very alert tail right here. Lots of tension. He's very, I would say, defensive.
Yep.
Smelling from a distance. So this is all okay. He's not barking. I would say if I were here, I would recommend that the owner loosen their leash because the dog could feel more comfortable that way, because he's sitting here sniffing and calm on a tight leash. Loosening that tension is just going to help this dog feel more comfortable. This is putting pressure on the dog can lead to their anxiety. At a distance here, I would be tossing treats, or I could just stand there and let them sniff. Using food often makes training quicker because you can bridge that gap between what you're trying to convey to the dog, that, hey, the dog is going to see you as, if you're just standing there, okay, you're not trying to kill me, you're not trying to hurt me, hey, no problem, that's fine. And over time, you habituate the dog to you just standing there, not hurting them. They have enough reinforcement, enough memory that you're not going to hurt them. Great. If you toss treats, it kind of speeds that up a little bit because they not only see you as not trying to hurt them, but you're a good thing. So you don't have to be using treats. This dog may be too stressed to take treats. So this is just something that, I would throw out there.
That's all right.
Okay, so the very second that so the dog is already on tension, and the very second he tries to pull him away, the dog reacts. So this is where I would say have the owner stand still. Don't worry about moving the dog away. I will move at a distance where I can keep moving while this dog is sniffing. If I move and the dog goes to react, then I'm too close and I need to decrease, or I need to increase distance from this dog. I need to get further away. He's going to move, lip lick, tension, and the dog starts reacting. Now the dog recovered very quickly. Terrific. That would be a great moment to reward the dog. I see here it says the Julius Canine, which is the name of the company. I have had a harness from them before, so I recognize that little patch. But still, love that the dog has a harness on. This is an intact male Rottweiler. Lots of power here. This is what you would call a power breed, or what some people would call a power breed. And he has him in a harness. That's awesome. I love it. And the reason why I like the harness so much more than a collar is because even if this dog were in a collar, but he's in a harness, he's not in a correction collar. He's not in a slip lead. He's not in a prong collar. He doesn't have an e-collar or a shock collar on. He's in a harness. These harnesses can be, the design of it is not ideal for me in particular because I feel like the front of the chest strap it can dig into the esophagus and the airways, and it can kind of restrict the dog's shoulder movement. But I would much rather have this dog on a harness than any corrective collar because it keeps him for the most part from getting more worried because he has something. It's not hurting the dog. The dog may not be comfortable really pulling at anything, that's digging into him, but it's not metal. Metal is not pulling into his neck. It's not, you don't have control by pain, force, intimidation. So that's why I love the dog. Perfect. Awesome. So this dog was able to look back, and then he looked away on his own. That would be a perfect moment. I would instruct the owner, that's when you want to reward. You allow the dog, I'm glad that he lets him have his leash. He's not trying to hold him next to himself. He lets, the dog, I don't know if he even saw that, but the dog was able to look and then look back on his own. I want the dog, no matter how reactive or fearful they are, I want to allow them to look at whatever they want, at the stimulus. And I want to give them that chance to see if they're going to look away. If this dog could continue staring, then I would suggest to the owner, okay, make a kissy noise, call them, try to get further ahead to their shoulder, get in the corner of their eyesight, and move backwards, get their attention, and when they come to you, reward.
Right. Can you
Very
do
good.
me a favour? I'm going to...
So that would be a great moment to reward, because he was reactive over here, but he's walking away and he's able to come back to his owner on his own. That's awesome. That's terrific. I would start rewarding here and work at this distance.
Come in. So is Sharon. Yes, please.
Oh my god, he's so stinking cute. Look at this little cutie pie. He's so cute. Now, he is very stressed. We see the wrinkles from here in his mouth. His tongue is out. It's flat. His ears are back. He's definitely very aware of this guy, and he's standing defensively. It could be that he's being protective of his owner. It could be that he's just protective of himself. There's a lot of different, differing opinions out there about, dogs never protect their owners and blah, blah, blah. In my opinion, I think it depends on each dog in each situation. I would say this dog is really more worried about himself than, the owner, but dogs like this have been bred to be protective and guard dogs for a reason, and they may view their owner as a resource to them. That doesn't mean it's a bad thing, necessarily. You could just teach your dog that, hey, you don't need to protect me. It's okay. Like, we're cool. But I just had to stop because he's just so stinking cute. And again, oh, good, awesome. So then he walks away and the dog follows him. He didn't have to tighten that leash at all. Again, he could reward for that. This dog is just already doing awesome. I'm glad that he's not just yanking and jerking on his harness. And this is that example that I was talking about, how it gets in front of those shoulders. His shoulder blades are right here. And so that movement kind of is a little restricted by this type of harness. But again, I would still much rather have a harness than anything around his neck or his face or other cruel devices made to cause pain. Okay, so that was I'm assuming a curse word. I don't think that was a squeaky toy. I think this guy was saying something under his breath or something and cursed and bleeped it out. So we moved from the dog walking by comfortably, which I would again reward for this. I would work at this distance and let them just walk back and forth. Let them stand there, have a chair, sit down, chill, and just anytime he looks at me and looks away, reward. Or if he can't look away and he just looks at me and he's not barking and lunging, reward. And then we work on him being able to look away and so on and so forth. So on and so forth. Okay, so now we see he's, oh goodness. We're gonna see we cut and, okay, so now there was a cut in the footage and we have him reset. He's over here by a car. I don't know if that's his car or not. Again, tight leash. He's on the front of his feet, very defensive, closed mouth, shorter lips. He's very alert and aware. So I would say if I'm walking up to a dog and they're showing this type of behavior, I'm going to stop and back up. And this is, again, another good, I'm not harping on the harness, I'm just saying this is another good example of why this can be, although it's kind of out of his shoulders, it's still in there a little bit, but it's also going to be digging into his throat, the harder he pulls. So I like a good X harness or a Y harness that has a strip this way, and then it goes and connects around the neck to the body, more anatomically correct. Okay, so he tosses him a muzzle. Okay, so I'm not against basket muzzles. I like that it's a basket muzzle. The dog was a little bit more wary. I would have worked personally to desensitize the dog that, hey, I'm going to be swinging my arms. I'm going to be tossing something to the owner. It's just all the more training that you can get your dog used to and get him over things that scare him. A lot of people would say, oh, this dog looks like a happy dog. He does look like a happy dog because he's just stinking cute and he's smiling. And I'm sure you've seen 1,000 labs look like this. And even Rotties too, but this tongue being spatulate, the wrinkles, his ears being back, the rest of the body language tells me he's not happy. So just because a dog looks like they're smiling does not mean they're happy. Most of the time, it means that they're stressed or at least stimulated. So he gives him a basket muzzle. I love it that it's a basket muzzle and not just the type that just clamps the mouth shut, because that can be very restricting, very nerve-wracking for the dog. It can, the dog can still nip in the front of it. It's just not very helpful. So safety always. And I like to condition a dog to it. If I'm working with a dog, with any kind of a bite history, I ask the owner to, 2 weeks ahead of time, at the very least 1 week ahead of time, condition the dog with a basket muzzle. Getting them used to having it on, take it off, treats and all that. And there's a whole lot of great tutorials out there of how to properly condition your dog to a muzzle, because if you just put one on them when they're already nervous, it's going to make it 10 times worse. Because it's like if you are conquering your worst fears and you're handcuffed or you're duct taped or you're tied in some way and you don't have as much of a way to defend yourself. For dogs, it is their mouth. Good. So I don't know if he asked him to sit. He sat. He's still nervous, but he was able to sit. I would reward for that, and then we can work on the muzzle. He's kind of moves a little quick. I mean, I know the dog, I'm sure the dog trusts him, but still, he moves kind of quick. He has the dog sit. I'm glad he didn't pop him, but he comes over here. The dog closes his mouth and right up in his face with the harness or the muzzle. I would like to at least let my dog sniff it. I'm not just going to go shove it on their face. It can have a negative association. He's very quick moving. That's just what I see. It's nothing personal. I'm just saying that, when you're working with an animal, especially one that's nervous, especially one that trusts you, I just like to teach my dog that I have soft hands, I have soft movements, I have timing, I have rhythm. They can expect what's going to happen. I can let them sniff it and put it on their face. I'm not just going to ambush them and put it on their face.
Yeah, it's fine, mate. Round his neck.
Okay, so here is what I don't like. He was doing perfectly fine on the harness, and this guy over here at Self and Dog Training, I believe that's what it says, he has a slip lead or a slip collar. So if you heard my spiel earlier, no points taken away from the owner. They're just doing what this trainer is telling them, but I don't like what this trainer is doing already. So one, you take away the dog's ability to protect itself and fight back, and then you're going to choke it, and yes, I mean choke, with a slip lead. Look at the size of this dog's neck. I always compare a piece of thread to a person's neck or a tiny little shoelace. Look how thick this dog's neck is, and that doesn't mean that he's fat. It's just a lot of mass there. There's a lot of airway. If he had a collar on the width of this little strap here around his neck, that would be one thing. I would be more okay with that, as long as he's still not yanking and jerking around on the dog.
Goes over his head.
But he gives him a tiny little slip lead. It's rounded, it's cord, it hurts, and he just put it over his head, and he's going to teach this guy to use pain compliance to get his dog to not seem or appear reactive. The dog will still be reactive, but now he's just going to force him to shut down. When he reacts, he gets punishment instead of teaching him what to do. So far this...
You need a bigger one.
Yeah, he does. And changing from a harness to a slip collar. Of course, all these trainers that use this kind of stuff always want to change from the harness because they say you don't get enough correction from the harness. You don't get any correction from the harness. You don't get direction from the harness. Well, that means the trainer doesn't know what the hell they're doing. I've worked with many dogs that are reactive, all of them on harness. If they've ever been on a corrective collar, I get them off that immediately and go to a harness. They've been on head halters, prong collars, choke chains, regular collars. I put them all in a harness, and we work the same way. Because of what I listed earlier, it takes them out of that fight or flight. We're not working with pain compliance. I want this dog to have freedom of their head, freedom to move around and feel free, not feel restricted, because the only way this dog is going to listen is by relying on this. I would much rather rely on treats and knowing it's going to take time and building a relationship with my dog than using pain, force, intimidation, and pain compliance. If you look up Zeus on my channel, he's a very reactive dog, and he's in a harness. Now, he pats his dog on the neck here, the side of the head. Again, it's kind of like what I would say, loud hands. The dog, again, people say dogs like pats. I don't know, it depends on the dog. That close to his head, I don't know. The kind of loud hands, the dog is already pinned by his person. It's just a lot going on here, a lot of pressure. And by pressure, I mean stimulation. It can make the dog more anxious or more reactive.
Bigger is always better. Incoming!
Okay, so again, tossed. This time the dog didn't really react as much. So you can reward.
It's like back
So again, really loud hands. He just ambushes the dog. You can see the dog's lip licking through his muzzle. At least it looks like it. Just slams over his head. This is nothing personal. I'm just saying that pay attention next time you work with your dog at how loud you are with your movement. I would have calmly slipped it over the dog's head, made him comfortable. I wouldn't be putting this kind of thing on my dog ever. Anyway. Slams it over his head and squeezes it over his head. He didn't slam it. It's just like tight. Just really rough handling of this dog. And although the dog takes it, doesn't mean it needs to. So this is already really tight. He's panting, not lip licking. This is already really tight. So this dog is already going to basically be getting a constant correction. I think this dog, if anything, needs more room in this collar than what they have here, but he doesn't need it anyway. So
yep, that's how we like it.
How we like it. So this guy is probably commenting at how snug it is, and this guy is like, yeah, no, that's how we like it. We like it snug.
That should be as high up as it can go.
Lip lick. God, dude. As high up as it can go, because it's very sensitive, and you have most control just behind the skull on an animal. Human, dog, horse, whatever. Ferret, guinea pig. It's sensitive.
Next stage is this long lead.
So this is a regular 6-foot leash.
Sorry, to that collar you've just put on.
So this guy's confused, doesn't even know what he wants. I'm going to say slam, but he doesn't really mean to slam. It's not slamming, but, this little metal clip hits the dog on the side of the neck, although the dog ignores it. Still, loud hands. He's not aware of, he doesn't have rhythm or timing or softness. He's just
put on.
Slides it up, whacks him, whacks the dog. Again, the dog ignores it, but, it just because it ignores it doesn't mean it's okay. So now this dog I'm going to say a pretty harsh correction by him running and then his own force pulling on that tight collar. And that's why it worked. That's why he stopped right away. And people are going to say, well, the dog corrected himself. No, humans put this slip lead on the dog, and yes, he ran to the end of it, but it wouldn't have happened if you didn't put this stupid collar on him and you didn't flood him and all this.
So walking is the best medicine. So walking.
I don't necessarily agree with that. I will say that at a distance when the dog is comfortable, yeah, walking can help relieve stress. It can also overstimulate a dog, and I do not get dogs used to me by walking next to them. That's just flooding. You're just forcing the dog, unless they're comfortable. But I'm not going to muzzle a dog just so I feel safe to walk next to them. I'd rather work at a distance without them muzzled. I rarely have a dog muzzled unless they're going to be off leash or they actually have a bite history.
Him just coming along with us, avoiding eye contact. He's a nervy guy.
So I don't know who he means. Is it avoiding eye contact? Does he mean the dog is avoiding eye contact, or does he mean that with him, or does it mean that he's avoiding eye contact with the dog? Because it's very important that the human avoid eye contact with the dog. But he looks like he's staring down at the dog. I don't know what he means. I don't know if he's looking at the dog. The dog is certainly avoiding eye contact, and he should have the same respect. Because when you stare down at a dog, you're very predatory. This dog already has pain on him. He can't fight back. He can't protect himself. And this guy's going to be staring at him.
We're going to walk back this way.
Okay, so I do like that this owner has more length in this slip lead, or the slip collar leash, than he does on the harness. Still a little bit of tension on the harness, but I'm glad this one is looser than this one. Because the dog's not being corrected right now.
Dogs know how to pull. It's basic maths. They've got 4 legs, we got 2. Right, turn around, walk towards me. Not towards me, sorry, back where you going. Yeah, but what happens is Okay,
so now he's starting to correct the dog by pulling back on this one. So I don't like that one as much. And he's going to say, a lot of people say oh, harnesses cause dogs to pull. And he's right that dogs, anything knows how to pull. If you feel resistance, you're going to pull. It's opposition reflex. But with dogs, they walk faster than we do. They've been reinforced that if they can pull you down the road and get to a smell, that's what they need to do. That's the right answer, is I pull and then I get to smell. If they pull and they don't get anywhere, but they walk calmly and they get to go sniff, then they learn that. It's about reinforcement.
Punishment they pull, he has all the leverage.
Ouch.
So when he stares at me, just bring him
Ouch.
like that.
So he says, he's going to say, when he stares at him, correct him. How about you get out of this dog's face and he won't feel the need to stare at you? Or when he does look at you, which again should be at a distance so this dog wouldn't have to have necessarily the muzzle on, even if it has the muzzle on. If he does look at you, the owner can get his attention after a couple seconds and reward the dog for looking at you. Everybody like this always has these little treat pouches and this cute stuff. They never ever use it.
Perfect. What you're saying is don't even go there. Don't even worry about it.
No, you're telling him through correction, yeah, don't even think about it. Don't look at him, which means to the dog that he doesn't actually, it doesn't help the dog do anything. The dog does not understand, like, this guy's not a threat. This guy is acting like a threat. He's staring at him. He has a phone on him, or it looks like it's a phone on him. He's walking by him. This dog is trapped. He has a muzzle on. He doesn't know this guy. He's in a new environment, I'm sure. He doesn't need any of this.
He's a nice nervy guy. Let's turn around.
So now he's the whole time trying to avoid this guy. I'm sure the majority of this time you could just be rewarding this dog with treats and he'd be totally focused on him. But he's smiling because maybe he sees improvement here, or maybe this guy cracked a joke or something. I don't know.
In a minute, I'm going to ask you to pass me his lead.
Oh, lovely.
Kills me. So what I want is I want to be on
Quit
the other
popping
side.
him, dude.
So I'm going to walk in front of you a little bit, and I want to come on this side.
So they have officially, taken off the harness, of course. And now this dog is walking, and when he pulls or looks at him, he pops him. And it's not like that the worst in the world, but it's still uncomfortable. That's how it works.
Round, bring him all the way round.
Drag him around.
Hand over his lead.
And he's going to be sneaky. Look how short his leash is. Now, he does have less leverage this way, but it doesn't matter with this tight of a leash. This dog is already kind of breathing hard. 2 inches of lead versus the other guy who had at least a 4-foot leash on his harness. Ouch, ouch. Again, taking less, ouch, ouch. He's immediately teaching this dog to heel. The dog doesn't even know him. He's only comfortable doing this because he has a muzzle on. Dragging the dog around. God, this poor dog. Dragging him around.
So the reason I do this is because I want to know how he's going to be. Yeah?
Ouch, dragging him away.
Go straight in to try to attack me, or if he's going to go, no one's there. Because a lot of the time with a Rottweiler, what happens...
I don't know what he means by no one's there. You mean that he's going to avoid you? I mean, God, look at this. Again, he's dragging and choking this dog. You can hear the dog breathing hard. He is choking this dog, dragging him around, and he's going to say this is training.
Is you panic... and
God, quit dragging him around.
But behaves like a Rottweiler.
Good Lord, okay. I know I'm going to be here for forever if I don't just fast forward through this a little bit.
Fixating, right?
Okay, so now the dog is sniffing. He's looking. You could have rewarded there. He's looking away. Reward there unless there's a person there.
That's all good.
He's smelling.
He needs to know that you've got control. When he's on that harness...
He doesn't need to know that you have control in the sense of using pain and intimidation. He needs to know that he can... He needs to know that he can trust you. Not know that you're in control. My Shiba knows that I'm in control. As an owner, your dog knows that you're in control, right? As a parent figure, whatever. You're in control. But my Shiba trusts me. He doesn't listen to me. He would never listen to me because he thinks I'm in control. I'm in control. I'll stop him from going in a direction because there's a puddle there, or because it's really cold and we need to go inside and he wants to go smell, a branch. And I'm like, dude, we got to go this way. I have to pull him away from that. I'm in control in that moment. But 99% of the time, he goes wherever the heck he wants to. I let him walk me and trail whatever he wants to, and we go wherever he wants. But at the same time, if there's ever anything that I'm asking him to do that he's nervous about, we work our way through it because he trusts me. I would never do anything to him that I wouldn't want to go through myself. So your dog does not need to know that you are in control. They need to know they can trust you, and this does not build trust.
It hands all the control and leverage to him. right?
No, I walk my Shiba on a harness. I mean, I've walked him in this before. I've walked him in many different types of harnesses. Do I hear noise? Okay, I thought I was crazy. I've walked my Shiba in this type of harness before. Many different types of harnesses, sled dog harnesses, different collars, head halters, all of this. And I walk him and every dog I work with in a harness that clips in the back. And we all seem to do perfectly fine. You know, I can still get great control of them because I use my body, I use our communication. I don't just rely on the leash and correction to tell them, hey, pay attention to me.
So he's very hard to stop.
So I'm glad that he started to give the dog more leash, but then he goes back to that old habit, or a habit that this guy may have taught him to have a short leash, which he doesn't need. No, you don't. So with this is kind of that whole thing about leverage. This is small and tight and it hurts, and so he can get away with finger presses, you know, just very light pressure of his hand. It doesn't look like he's correcting, but the dog feels it. Versus on a harness, it would take more. You can teach your dog to respond to this on their harness. I've done so with Adonis. I've taught my Shiba to be as soft as the finger press in his harness. On the back, you know, he could see a squirrel, he can run to the end of his leash, and as long as it's hooked to a finger at least, he's not going to go anywhere. I can stick a twig in the ground and lay his leash on it, and if he feels the pressure of that twig and the twig doesn't move, then he'll just sit there. I mean, because we've taken the time to teach him to be soft, and I've been soft, and I've been aware of my handling skills. So you could teach this dog and any dog to be just as soft as this on a harness, and you don't need to rely on pain.
Is put the power on you, so you're putting on the brakes, so take a step towards me and stop.
So that was about 3 steps, but the dog really doesn't know what you're doing. I mean, you're working on too many things at once. If you were to work on this at home, that would be one thing. I'd be perfectly fine with that, you know, where he doesn't need all of this. But he's here we got at least 2 other trainers. We got a camera guy, maybe that, you know, the other guy with the camera. We've got the trainer here. We're in a new environment. He's in a muzzle. I'm surprised the dog isn't pawing the muzzle off. I don't know, maybe the dog is already muzzle trained. I have no idea. But he has all this new contraption on him. And then they're trying to teach him to pay attention to this owner and walk while there's this scary guy over here and all these other people. It's just too much.
Look, see how he's checking in with you now. See how he's moving?
He's looking for comfort because everything else around him is scary. He's looking for comfort. He's not looking in because he's a strong leader or because he's in charge. The dog does not care. It's a Rottweiler. Yes, as tough as they are as guard dogs, they are a very sensitive breed. You don't need this kind of, you know, a lot of times heavy-handed corrections will cause, from the Rottweilers I've seen and worked with, it causes them to shut down.
Behind you now. So what he's doing is relinquishing some control to you.
Yeah, you can say that, yes, he is relinquishing control to him. But really what he's saying is, Dad, I'm scared, I'm afraid, I need you to show me in a way that I understand, not this human nonsense, that I can trust these people and I can trust you in this environment. He said he's saying now he's scared and he's frightened. That tail is way down. He's uncomfortable. And the only comfort he has is Dad. And even if Dad corrects him, he's still going to look for that comfort because that's all he knows.
Because he's insecure. He doesn't need to be in front in that danger zone.
Oh, get off it. Like, seriously. Your dog does not need to be behind you because they're nervous. I mean, they could be in front. They could be wherever they want to, as long as, you know, if I have a dog that's nervous, they could be anywhere they want to in front of me. And I'm not going to be standing this close to a trigger of theirs. I would just be right back here, and they can stand wherever they want to. They can stand, they can sit, they can lay down. If they start barking, I'm just going to move away until they're calm. And then they can do whatever they want as long as they're calm. I don't need to worry about putting them behind me and acting like I'm some protector. If the dog wants to go behind naturally, that's fine with me. I have no problem with that. But I'm not going to force them behind because they don't see it as, oh, you're in charge. They're just avoiding pressure.
Right, he needs you to be in front saying, I've got this, buddy.
No, he doesn't. Why don't you stand side by side? Or allow him to feel comfortable in front because he knows through your bond and your reinforcement of behavior that you will never put him in a situation where he needs to feel fearful. You can have your dog be confident knowing that he can go in any environment with you and he will be safe, because you would never set him up to be in an environment where he's going to be, harm is going to be caused upon him.
What do you know about vibration collars?
Oh, Jesus, of course. As if this wasn't enough. The dog seems to be doing fine. He's not blowing up. Why are we adding something else to the mix? A vibration collar. Now, usually, if they only vibrate, we call them pagers. I'm fine with those in very specific situations. Most of the time, for deaf dogs that I've used where the owner really wanted them to be off leash, I always recommend, any dog be on leash unless they're, in a dog park. This person liked to let their dog off leash, and so we used a pager to get their attention from far away, and we condition it over time, and it just vibrates. And a lot of dogs can find that aversive.
It's not a shock collar.
Okay.
It's a vibration. When I say vibration, I mean like your phone on silent or an electric toothbrush. So...
Okay, well, you can say that. I mean, I'm glad that it's just vibration, but this dog doesn't need it. He doesn't need more stimulation. If he's stimulated, he's already overstimulated. If he's here reacting, he's overstimulated.
Humans like vibrations. This whole industry's dedicated to it. Dogs, however, don't. That's why they can very much get reactive to thunder and lightning.
So if he knows that dogs become reactive to vibration, why are you using it? Because that's just the stupidest thing I've ever heard of. I mean, like, if obviously we know dogs don't like electricity, sparking them either. So why would we use it? Is it necessary? None of this is necessary. And this guy may not know the difference. He's just like, okay, cool. This guy seems really successful. We're getting success. Let's do it. So if the dog finds it aversive, then he's saying, yeah, we're going to use punishment with this dog. We're using a tiny slip lead that causes pain. As if that's not enough, we're going to use more to overstimulate the dog, override their reactivity, and just cause them to shut down.
They don't like the vibrations it sets off. So vibrations can be interrupted. What I'm looking for is when he gets to that sort of state that we have something to take the edge off of. Yeah.
Jesus. It's not take the edge off of. It is to shock the dog out of, and not literally using the stim, using vibration to snap the dog out of that mindset, which you can very easily do by taking your time, conditioning them to a whistle, or sometimes you just have to drag them out of that situation. You don't need to condition the dog to something to snap them out of it if you don't plan to set them up for failure 9 out of 10 times. If you plan to set them up for success and there's one time there's a failure, okay, I get it. But you still don't need this. You don't want to plan for the one time you need emergency whatever, an emergency escape route. People do it with horses all the time. The one time when I need to make an emergency rein snatch, and they just like take one rein and just pull a horse's mouth off, or the emergency dismount. Or with dogs, just that one time their dog gets out and they need that emergency high-level stimulation. If you're working with him at his rate, then say this is a person and he's reactive to it. If you stay here and he's calm, perfect. Work here. If you can get a little bit closer, perfect. Work there. Then you work to over here. If he reacts again, you just come back here at this distance and you work here. And unless you take him and just flood him and he's of course going to react and then you want to punish him with this, that's the only reason this would come in. But you shouldn't be training that way. You don't need to. It's quicker by preventing him from blowing up.
Yeah. So the tool already is giving you much more control. How do you feel with that tool right now?
Of course he feels good. He doesn't know the difference. He just sees that he has success. His dog was reactive before and now it's not. He doesn't have the experience to know that you don't need this. Or he's being his own, maybe this is his own thought process that's being reinforced by this guy. And this guy is just, reinforcing his own, it's an echo chamber. It's an echo chamber of his that he's telling everybody this is what you need to do. This guy would never question, is this the only method? Maybe he would, I don't know, but from here he doesn't seem to need to question. So we're gonna...
So one of the things we need to do is teach you to advocate for him. So as we know...
Advocating for him would mean he does not have a slip lead on. He does not have a vibrate collar on. Advocating him means allowing him to run away from the situation if he wants to. That's advocating for him. This is absolute bull if he says that what we're doing here is advocating for the dog. No, we're not.
He reacted to the cameraman. When he reacted, it's because he was in front.
No, he did not. He reacted to the cameraman for a number of reasons, I'm sure. Not simply because he is in front. That is just absolutely stupid. This dog may have reacted because he's in a new environment. He's never seen this person before. It's a person in front of him with a camera. It could be intimidating. The camera could look like an eyeball to him that doesn't blink. It could be there's something fuzzy on it. I don't know. This sun could be behind the cameraman's shoulders, making the dog not able to see him as well because he's, there's a glare. I mean, the cameraman could smell weird. The cameraman, again, could have been in his face, looking down at him. All that could be why the dog reacted, not because he was in front. I'm sure he would have reacted just the same as if he were in back. He was just able to lunge more because he was in front. Good grief.
So when a dog's in front, they have to deal with everything.
No, actually they don't. I mean, they don't have to deal with everything. They don't necessarily think they have to. They just do because they haven't been taught otherwise. I mean, Adonis could be in front all the time and see somebody coming and he looks at me. And I can say, let's go this way, or we're okay, or come over here, or whatever. Just because the dog is in front doesn't mean that they feel the need that they have to deal with everything. They just do. They would do it anywhere they are with you. He could be across the yard and see something and still go after it. And he's not even in front of you. He could be behind, this dog could be behind this fence and he could still go after the cameraman if he were not leashed up. Because he hasn't been taught otherwise. So if you can allow your dog to be in front. I hate all these trainers and people who just have to have their dog behind them or on the side of them. It's all about this ego. They are your partner, not your slave. Your dog can be anywhere in front of you. I mean, the way I teach is the dog can be anywhere in front of me as long as they're not pulling on leash or acting crazy. If they do, then I'll just work until I'll work with them using positive reinforcement, of course, go figure, if they are acting crazy, then I'll just work with them. I'll use positive reinforcement. I'll get them to pay attention to me. I'll get them to want to look at me more than whatever is outside. And they can be in front doing whatever, and when they see a squirrel, if I've conditioned them correctly and taken enough the steps it takes to get there, they'll look at me when they see the squirrel. And they could be 10 feet in front of me. Or they could be looking at the squirrel and I can give them a verbal cue. I mean, it should be on us anyway to protect our dog and prevent them when we're in the human world anyway.
Now, he can't handle people walking towards him or looking at him.
A lot of dogs can't handle that. I mean, especially looking at him. People shouldn't be staring at dogs anyway. People out there who, if you don't know, please don't make eye contact with dogs in general. Dogs, especially dogs you don't know. Don't go petting them the way you pet your dog. Don't go, I had one guy try to head nuzzle Adonis and it looked like he was going to headbutt him. And Adonis backed away and I was like, whoa, what are you doing? He was like, oh, my dog loves that. I do it all the time with him. Well, one dude, I'm pretty sure your dog doesn't enjoy that. And even if they do, you don't know my dog. Don't go putting your face in another dog's face. I mean, this was years and years ago when I lived in Colorado. So don't stare at dogs anyway. We don't need to correct the dog because they react. We need to correct the people because they don't know how to act.
Yeah, boy, fuss that. That's amazing. Just not too
good.
Much. So too much excitement will rile him up again.
I mean, I get that, but I think at this point this dog is so over and so done that it really doesn't matter. I mean, you could reward it. That was very good. He's laying down, but he's only laying down because he's stuck here. He would rather be as far away from this guy as possible, I'm sure. This dog is just sitting here like, okay, I'm trapped, learned helplessness, I'm shutting down, I'm flooded, I don't know what to do. I can't move, so I'm just going to sit here and take it.
So we want to let him know that was good, but we want to do it from a calm standpoint.
That's one thing I can agree with him on. That when you have a dog, especially a nervous dog or an excitable dog, you do want to go reward them, be calming, because you being excited can excite them. I think in this moment, again, I don't think it really matters with this dog, but I could be wrong. But by calming them, petting them calmly, you can reinforce that. Even with an excited dog, you can pet them calmly and try to calm them down that way. and just keep that. If you, the dog might not like that, and it may make them more agitated or more excited, as in, okay, let's play.
Remains calm. Now I'm gonna have.
Now this whole time, he could be treating this dog for sitting here and being chill. Every now and then just toss a treat. Doesn't have to say anything. I often do that when I'm working with clients and let them know, hey, while we've been talking, I've been reinforcing this dog for laying down or for being calm. My motto is, if it looks like you're rewarding for nothing, then you're doing it right. Because you shouldn't be seeing reaction.
Some guinea pigs walk towards you.
Lovely.
Right? But look where he is.
Okay, so see, he told him you're going to have some guinea pigs and people walking towards you, and he already tenses up with the leash right there. That tells me he's expecting the dog to react. So if I saw that, I'd say, okay, I wouldn't start with people walking towards them yet because they're not ready for it anyway. But I'd have, somebody just move a little bit and stop. Pressure and release. And, I would help this guy reinforce that he doesn't need to prepare for that because the dog isn't going to react. He's been taught and reinforced through life experiences, whatever, that his dog is going to react. And so instead we need to teach him, as well as the dog, that this alone, tightening the leash, can be a cue to the dog that, oh, somebody's going to come up and make me nervous. So if the human is nervous, the dog can become nervous.
Now, so if Sharon was to walk towards
Good.
you
So he
now,
loosened
he's
again.
going to react because you're behind him. Do you see how...
No, that is absolute bullshit. He's not going to react because he is behind him. He is going to react because you're working too fast, because it's a trigger of his that someone walks towards him. So how about you take one step and stop? And if he doesn't react, then you would reward. You could give him a treat. That would speed things up. Or at the very least, you can move back a step. Pressure, release. Or advance, retreat. You stimulate him, and he doesn't react, and you move away. And over time, you can get closer and closer. You can bend down, you can lay down. I do this with dogs all the time. I do it with horses. I get them used to play, plastic bags and tarps and all sorts of nonsense.
You're behind him.
He's still going to react.
Closer to him, tuck in with him. Now,
that just means that he's putting pressure on the dog, so the dog may think, uh-oh, I'm going to get in trouble because Dad is so much closer to me. So he's closer, a little bit more intimidating, maybe that unspoken threat. I'm not saying that he's threatening the dog, but it could look like that to the dog. The dog is already flooded.
What I see from you is you kind of just step in front of him because he cannot handle people.
He does not feel safe. If anything, you're just blocking his view.
See how he looks away. So go back.
He looks away because he's nervous. Because you're in front of him, you're putting pressure on him. Somebody's coming. He feels confrontational. Dogs avoid confrontation. So he's looking away like, okay, you're creating a physical barrier. I don't think it makes this dog feel comfortable. That's just my opinion. I don't think the dog feels more comfortable because he's in front. I think the dog feels more stressed, and you're not really helping the dog to learn to deal with his issues in a positive way.
A second somebody starts walking towards you, that's what you need to do. So line up behind me, single.
So I would say if you're going to do this, then you could stand in front of the dog, get the dog's attention. And this is for something where I would plan for this if I'm on the street and there's cars coming by, or there's the one-off situation where you stand in front of your dog, get a little treat, make eye contact, give them that reward, then you move on. And over time, you don't have to stand in front of them. You can stand on the side and desensitize them over time. But then he says, okay, stand behind me, single file. So he's going to flood the dog some more.
Single file, guys. You're my guinea pigs. Thank you. So who wants to go first?
So there was a cut, and now the dog is sitting up. What happened in that cut? Did they try it before and it didn't work out and something happened? And they had to start over? I don't know. I'm not saying that's happening, but we don't know when they cut. With everything else this trainer is doing, I don't trust anything.
Sharon or you? All right, Sharon's going to go first. So as Sharon walks towards, because he can't, that's what you need to do, yeah? Just like that. And you see how he goes to sort of chill out a little bit?
Okay, so if he were at least to do this, but reward with a treat when he steps forward, then I'd be more okay with it, because he would be conditioning the dog that, hey, I'm just going to step in front of you, don't react. But over time, we don't want to just blind the dog constantly when someone walks by. We want to allow them to look at the person. That's why it's easier when they're at a distance and your dog is not reacting. They see the person from a distance, they don't react, they get rewarded for it. Cool.
Sharon's going to walk towards. Hello, hey, straight on. Hello, how you doing?
No. So that caused his dog to react.
Right, relax. That was
Ouch,
the
ouch,
vibrate.
ouch, ouch, ouch. So this guy with his vibrate tool made the dog more reactive.
Yeah, of course. He's never felt it before.
So you're supposed to condition them to it, at least, so he understands what it means. Now this dog is going to associate this person as the vibrate, which is why I don't use these tools like this, because a lot of times dogs will associate them with the shock or the vibrate or the correction, because they learn through association. Jesus, people.
Yeah.
Not like, people in general, but just like this guy working.
It.
So there was another cut. How long did it take for them to calm down? There's so much more to this, and I've been doing this, for long enough, and now we have them on a weighted harness or maybe a cool working harness. I don't know. Again, we still got the muzzle on. We've got probably another day. We've got the slip lead. We've got the vibrate collar. Maybe it's no longer a vibrate collar. I don't know. But I would be here forever and ever. And again, he's in his face, making his probably YouTube shorts or whatever, getting in his face with the camera, not helping. The dog still has to be muzzled, still uncomfortable. So I'm just going to end that here. This is my review of it. I think this guy, I would never recommend him personally as a trainer. That's just my opinion. I hope this dog and this guy have a good relationship. I hope this dog gets the help it needs, and hopefully it's not anything, more aggressive or more aversive. It just bothers me so much. They have all these little treat pouches, and not one time has he ever offered this dog a treat. Like, it's just for look. So that's just what I think. So I'm going to end that there. I think I'm starting to lose my voice, so I'll stop talking. Let me know what you think of it. If you want to subscribe, you're welcome to. You don't have to. If you liked the video, feel free to like. If you disliked it, you can dislike as well. Let me know what you would like to see next time. Thanks again for watching, and until then, stay positive.